Hello, New York Giants fans, and welcome to a new edition of the Valentine's Views podcast here on YouTube. Today, we are previewing the Thanksgiving Day game, the must watch Turkey Day game between the New York Giants and the Dallas Cowboys. And here to help me break that down, talk about all things Cowboys, all things Thanksgiving, talk about his Turkey Day preparations is the always entertaining RJ Ochoa of blogging the boys. RJ, how you doing?
Doing well, Ed. Great to be with you. Happy Thanksgiving, Merry Christmas to you, your family, your audience. It's the best time of year, they say, for football. Even though I think
They
you and I would
say
disagree.
they say they say, and you same to you, same to you and yours as well. Happy holidays, and to you, to your listeners, to your readers at blogging the boys. Even though we know they root for the wrong team, but we're not gonna go there. We're gonna play nice because we always do. We
That's
always do.
it's possible, even though people say it isn't.
It is well, it is possible for you and me.
Right.
It is possible for Giants and Cowboys fans. Even though you did a show for a long time with Brandon Lee Gouton of Bleeding Green Nation, I am not sure that it's possible with Eagles fans, but
Yeah,
it's possible between the two of us.
they're a different breed, and you and I can agree on that, and it can be objectively true. And they
Mhm.
take a high level of pride in that.
Yes, they
Is
do.
is what separates them, I think,
Yes.
from everyone else.
RJ, I have been to one game at the Link a few years back. The I went to cover the Giants and the Eagles at the Link, and I went because of some of the circumstances going on around the Giants, and it turned out to be the game during which Jake Elliott beat them with a
Oh dear.
61-yard field goal as time expired. And I had to stay in a hotel in Philadelphia that night. and and I wish that's an expense and a trip I wish I could have a do-over on.
Yeah, so I've mentioned to you and in front of your audience many times I'm a Houston Astros fan. I know that that is not a popular thing for you. And winning the World Series is something you hold near and dear to your heart, right? And I'm fortunate that my team has done it twice, and to do it against the Dodgers is a really cool thing. But because of my football fandom and what I do for a living, having a world championship against the city of Philadelphia is a different thing. I mean, I will be honest, the fact that the Astros beat the Phillies of all teams was a really sweet victory for me, and one that I will never ever stop talking about.
And I won't blame you for that. I know, how much the Super Bowl victories over the Patriots mean to
Right,
Giants
exactly.
fans. So especially the 17-0 Patriots. So we fully understand. Anyway, RJ, let's talk Giants Cowboys. Neither one of our teams is winning the Super Bowl this year. Neither one of our teams is getting into the Super Bowl tournament, which means our seasons end early. Our draft prep starts early if it hasn't started already. Um, but let's talk a little bit about Thursday. Um, you guys, as bad as you are, 14 out of 15 games you've beaten the Giants. 14 out of 15, seven straight. I mean, even at 4-7, do you guys kind of look at the Giants as the JV?
When I was in high school, in some transformative years, obviously, was kind of the peak of the Romo Eli rivalry, if you want to call it that. And for a long time, the Giants were the team that I feared the most. Those were always the most stressful games. You kind of felt like it was always going to come down to you or them. And man, the the drop off has been significant. I can't tell you the last time I had legitimate pause with regard to the Giants, and I don't say that in any kind of trolling way. It's just, I think representative of what the Giants have been throughout
Hmm.
the entire Dak Prescott era,
Hmm.
which is obviously a very long time at this point. Um, it's difficult to conceive of them as a threat, and the coaches change, the players change, the star wide receiver changes, and it just all kind of still feels the same. And so I I would not take the Cowboys to beat or to cover at home specifically against just about anybody, but I will against this specific team.
Of course you will. And I wouldn't blame you, and I won't argue with you at all. Um, as I We haven't published our predictions for Thursday yet, but I did put mine into our predictions post, and as I said, I do not expect the Giants to embarrass themselves the way that they did on Sunday against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But there's no chance I'm picking them to win the game. There may be no chance I pick them to win another game the rest of the year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that anybody thought it would be that bad, and I don't know that I think that highly of the Bucks anymore. Obviously, they entered that game on a bit of a losing streak, and so it's one thing to be bad, and it's a whole different thing to. And I'm sorry to just sit here and sound like I'm taking shots at the Giants, but to seem like the team has quit, to seem like the team is checked out. You talked about being ready for the draft. I mean, nobody feels more ready than the Giants players themselves at this point. And I was somewhat impressed is not the right word, but for a while it felt like Brian Dable himself hadn't quite lost control of things. Whereas to me, last week felt like the break point for that, if that hadn't happened already to this point.
I do think I think that Thursday is going to be very telling in terms of whether or not Brian Daboll has a chance to to salvage this and stay with this team. I think if they get blown out on Thursday, if they embarrass themselves again, he may not be the coach on Friday. And that's unfortunate because I know that the Giants do not want to have to blow this thing up and start over again. I know they want to have some patience because this just doesn't work when you keep reinventing the wheel, every 2 or 3 years. It just doesn't work.
Yeah, and I mean, it doesn't. I agree with you. Like from a philosophical perspective, it doesn't work in general. But um, if you fire the head coach, this isn't a normal fire the head coach but keep the general manager. This is a pair and a duo that has kind of worked in lockstep. That obviously came in together and that has a history with one another. So it isn't just we'll keep the GM. I think you make things very difficult, and you run into kind of the situation the Chicago Bears have gone on where they can never fully reset. They've always got one connection to the past, whatever the case may be. I agree with you in general, but I also don't see the point in firing anybody at this point. I think the Jaguars have kind of realized that with Doug Peterson. Like, you're going to fire Brian Dable, and then what? I mean, what's going to be better at this point? I mean,
Right.
what's the whole point of it? Which is part of what's so frustrating to be a fan of one of these two teams right now. You feel like nothing can accomplish anything right now.
Right. Um, let's talk about the Cowboys and the feelings around the Cowboys right now. Dallas just beat the Washington Commanders. And I think, as an aside, we are beginning to see that the Washington Commanders may not be the next coming yet. They may not be the next dominant team yet. I think they're 7-5 now. We always kind of knew that they were still a developing team, but I think now we're actually starting to see that. But from a Cowboys perspective, broke a 5-game losing streak. And I think you wrote the other day, you said the vibes are not terrible for the first time in a while. Um, Interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you understand this in a way that somebody who was around, say, the Arizona Cardinals doesn't, just because of the market the Giants play in. When the team is bad, it's bad.
Hmm.
It's really toxic, and that's what things were like for the Cowboys. They were losing, losing in embarrassing fashion. They still have yet to win a home game. Obviously, this could check that box if they're able to do so. They had prior to that game. well, they actually still have an active home game streak of allowing 20-point deficits in 6 consecutive games. Nobody
Wow.
in NFL history had ever done that 5 games in a row, but they've done it 6 times. So if the Giants achieve a 20-point lead at any point in this game, that would be magic number 7. And so there was
I don't think
just
that's legal
so
or
there
possible.
there were just all these, that run. Also, I know these things feel like forever ago at this point, included Jerry Jones snapping at local radio hosts for a line of questioning, Trayvon Diggs snapping at a local reporter for a tweet during the loss of the 49ers. I mean, it was a Murphy's Law proposition, and that just about anything that could go wrong did go wrong, and did so in the most humiliating way possible. So to just stop the bleeding, you know what I mean? Like the patient is still in ICU and in a medically induced coma, and and we've already called the family type of thing. But I mean, the doctors have at least gotten a chance to take a breath and wash their hands and meet together and determine the next course of action. And it felt like just operation after operation in the emergency room trying to save this thing. And so that they bought some semblance of time was impressive and important. And if they're able to win this game, again, I don't think this is a playoff team, but because they don't play until Monday Night Football in week 14, they really buy themselves, a chance to take a deep breath and figure things out for December.
And putting things in medical terms is interesting because has Mike McCarthy actually resuscitated his chance to continue as the head coach of this team? Because I saw some comments from Jerry Jones, who seems to just, we know he loves to talk, and you never know what's going to come out of his mouth. But I saw some comments that he might be willing to bring McCarthy back. So is that resuscitated?
I consider myself fluent in Jerry speak, and more specifically in deciphering it for those who don't follow him on a day-to-day basis. This to me is just an enormous amount of hot air. I mean, this is for. I understand the Giants don't play on Thanksgiving every year. Obviously, it should be understood that this is the biggest week of the year for the Cowboys in terms of attention and notoriety and tradition and all these things that come with football as we know it on Thanksgiving. It's a big charitable week. They obviously have a partnership with the Salvation Army. And so that being said, there's a big return of the rivalry between the University of Texas and Texas A&M. It's a big college football week. This is to me Jerry Jones saying, slow your roll, thinking that the Longhorns and Aggies are going to take center stage this week in the Lone Star State, because his defense or his proposition with regards to McCarthy was that he was a Super Bowl winning head coach, and you have to consider bringing him back. And I actually think it is somewhat noble to talk that way, but was Mike McCarthy not a Super Bowl winning head coach in January when they elected not to bring him back? I mean, again, if you're not going to extend him after, right on the heels of going 12-5 for the 3rd year in a row, I just can't imagine how you feel like going 4-7 was the necessary thing to fully make your decision.
In other words, this is Jerry making sure that in newspaper terms that he's the lead story on page 1, that he gets top right with the big headline.
Yeah, I don't know. I know it sounds like I'm making a mountain out of a molehill in a collegiate game in what will happen in College Station on Saturday night. I don't know if you're aware, Ed, that's the most expensive ticket on average in football this year, professional or collegiate.
Wow.
And so there is some upstaging that is happening to the Cowboys. And I do think there is some fatigue. I don't know how Giants fans feel, but I have to imagine it gets annoying. I mean, it gets annoying from a Cowboys perspective, but it must get annoying to hear Jerry talking and so much attention being given to one of the worst teams in the NFL. I mean, here we sit, they've won one game, their first game that they've won since the Yankees were playing the Guardians in the division series. And we're sitting here saying, maybe they're a playoff team. They get treated like nobody else. And that's pretty annoying.
RJ, it was annoying years ago. It didn't just get annoying. It was annoying years ago. But I understand, and I appreciate you recognizing that it can be annoying. Here's a good one for you. It's not going to happen, but should Daniel Jones be a Cowboy?
I mean, no is the ultimate answer. I know this is a question about the Cowboys, but just my 2 cents are this. I think that the Giants are being put through just the meme of things at this point. I've told you this and I've written this and I said it on the show you talked about with Brandon. I always thought that it made some logical sense to extend Daniel Jones when the Giants did, and it made some logical sense relative to the situation to not bring Saquon back. Those decisions aged poorly, but that does not mean that this was just a batch of imbeciles who had no idea what they were doing at the moment. There were, again, logical data points to suggest that they were moving towards a North Star. So that being said, I just if there is a quarterback that isn't Cooper Rush, who Cowboys fans want to see play for the team, it's Trey Lance. Just because the pick has been burned. People want to feel like it's justified in some way, shape, or form. But because Cooper just beat the Commanders, it feels incredibly doubtful that unless they were to lose 4 more games in a row or something, that he's just not going to be starting every single game until the season is over.
Right. I think that, the internet just would have loved to see Daniel Jones in a Dallas uniform on Thursday afternoon.
Yeah, and give him
But
number 8 too while we're at it. Let's just, let's burn the
oh
whole
yeah.
thing down.
Oh my Lord. I don't think that would happen. But anyway, just really just about the last thing I've got for you here is, you guys 6 games to go. Expectations for Dallas the rest of the way. Um, what would what would you consider to be a good finish the rest of the way? Obviously, it's not going to be the season that you wanted, but what would you consider to be a good finish to the season?
Obviously, this past Sunday against Washington, looks like exactly what you want because they won. And it's always fun to win a chaotic game and feel like you kind of stole one in that sense. But to me, the most impressive thing was that CeeDee Lamb and Micah Parsons not only played very well, but that they were so vocal. I know that you've dealt with Giants fans who want to tank or who don't want to tank. And, you kind of have that conversation and it's a bit cyclical. Micah Parsons came out after the game, and obviously we all know that players don't care for that kind of conversation. But Micah came out and said, "There's no way we're tanking. Watch out." And it sounds foolish, it sounds stupid, right, to say watch out for this 4-7 team. But the reality is that Micah and CD are the cornerstones of this team. They're, outside of Dak Prescott, they're the most important players for the foreseeable future, whether that's for Mike McCarthy or somebody else. So it was really impressive to see the two of them being at in front of the front line, leading the battle, so to speak, and saying this isn't going to happen on my watch, and if it is, we're at least going to take down these Commanders with us. And so I just want to see more of that. I certainly would like to see younger players on the roster that will be a part of whatever rebuild or retooling happens, prosper and flourish a little bit. If they manage to win some games and make some post game recaps a little bit more fun and less painful to write, that would certainly be fun. Just make the Christmas holiday fun and jovial and jolly. That's really all I care about personally at this point in time.
All right, RJ, appreciate the time. Giants fans, thank you as always for listening. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday. Please stay safe out there, and we'll talk to you soon. Bye bye.